So I know y'all heard Carnival's going to Africa. Are we getting on a ship or what? Welcome back to Steph Sees the World. I'm Stephanie, your go to travel advisor, helping you travel better, smarter, and like royalty. And today, I want to ship the tea on Carnival's African itineraries aboard the Carnival Sunshine. Okay, so earlier this year, Carnival announced its first ever historic sailing to Africa, which these itineraries are scheduled to hit the seas starting in 2027. Okay, and I saw y'all being messy in the comments. But what I will say is these sailings are not what most people are thinking. And I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. But first, let's get into these itineraries. So the itineraries are between 7 to 10 day sailings through the Mediterranean and North Africa, sailing from Barcelona, Spain, and Rome, Italy. So, the most common misconception is that the sailings are happening in the US. They're not, not yet, at least. So, you do have to travel overseas from the US to board this ship. The African ports are La Guette, Tunis, Tunisia, and Tanger, Morocco. You won't have your standard safaris like you'll expect in South Africa, which is famous for the Big Five wildlife safaris. Put in the comments if you know what the Big Five is, and I'll send you a little prize. But you will see wildlife like camels, wildcats, and beautiful bird life. North Africa and South Africa can feel like two completely different travel experiences, both culturally and visually. North Africa will offer ancient history, rugged mountains, and stunning Mediterranean views as your backdrop, like this one here in Santorini. For North Africa, you want to think Morocco, Egypt. The vibe is going to be Middle Eastern, Arabic influence, rich in history, culture, and architecture. It will have a very old world feel, traditional but vibrant. So, what you'll see there is desert landscapes like the Sahara, markets, which they call souks, mosques, historic landmarks, coastal cities along the Mediterranean as well. Whereas with South Africa, think Kenya, Zanzibar, Lion King vibes. So that's going to be more modern, Western influenced. You'll get your safaris, wine country, beaches, and mountains. South Africa feels more modern and luxury focused with scenic landscapes. So, why I say this cruise may not be what most people are thinking, it's because this is going to have more of a Mediterranean cruise feel. And I went on a Mediterranean cruise on Norwegian Viva. And let me tell you, it was a fabulous and amazing, immersive experience that I've ever done traveling. So if you have the opportunity to do a Mediterranean cruise, definitely do it. And this would be a really good one to start. But I want to dive into the featured itinerary, which is a 10-day Mediterranean sailing on the Carnival Sunshine, sailing July 25th of 2027. And what makes this sailing so unique is that it's centered around a solar eclipse experience in the middle of the ocean. So this will definitely be one of those trips that's bucket list worthy, a once in a lifetime experience. And typically, cruise lines like Carnival will lean into moments like this, so you can expect themed events, viewing opportunities, and just an overall vibe on the ship that feels really special and elevated for that day. This is definitely one of those moments where the experience becomes the destination. Now, let's talk ship. Everything the sunlight touches on Carnival Sunrise will be doused with an extra dose of fun. I love that they put that on their website. Love them paying homage to the Lion King movie. So, Sunshine made her debut originally November 17th of 2013. The guest capacity is 3,002 with an onboard crew of about 1040. She has 14 decks. This ship was originally Carnival Destiny, ranked the largest ship in the world in 1996. Since it has been completely gutted and renovated from top to bottom, front to back in 2013. This was a $200 million project to do. Then it was refurbished in 2018 with a new refresh just last year in 2025. So this is basically a brand new ship. Just like any other Carnival ship, this is going to be fun, lively experience with that classic Carnival energy. When it comes to food and drinks, you'll have the classics like Guy's Burger Joint, Blue Iguana, Red Frog, Alchemy Bar, Havana Bar, plus, of course, your main dining and specialty options. Entertainment and activities is where Carnival really shines. You've got live shows, Punchliner Comedy Club, nightlife, and activities happening throughout the day. Playlist Productions will be on board where songs you know and love come alive on stage. Your favorites become full blown musical productions featuring singers and dancers bringing down the house. I cannot wait. I love a good musical. And if you want to relax, there's Cloud9 Spa, pools, and the adults only Serenity area, which is the biggest Serenity area ever, featuring 3 decks and even a waterfall. You'll also have Carnival Waterworks, the onboard water park with Speedway Splash Slide. There's also Sports Square, a rope course. I mean, the list goes on and on. So this ship truly delivers the Carnival way. And before you even ask, yes, there is activities and special programs for the kiddos, such as Camp Ocean, Seuss at Sea, Space Cruisers, and Club O2, which is the teens only hangout. So overall, this is the kind of ship where truly there's something for everyone and where you can be as active or as relaxed as you want to be. So now let's talk about the itinerary and the ports. This sailing focuses on Africa and surrounding coastal regions, giving you a mix of cultural experience, scenic views, unique excursions you're not going to get on your typical Caribbean cruise. Think historic cities, local markets, coastal views, and opportunities to really explore something unique on this cruise. Some of the ports will include Italy, Malta, France, Mykonos, Turkey. I mean, just amazing places to visit. But remember what I said, this is going to be more like a Mediterranean cruise with maybe only 1 or 2 stops in Africa, just depending on the sailing and the length of time. Also, these itineraries are jam-packed with only a couple at sea days on each sailing. So this isn't just going to be a beach and relax itinerary. This is a scratching places and things off of my bucket list kind of trip, such as riding a camel or holding up the Tower of Pisa in a photo because it will fall if you don't. I crack up every time I see somebody holding up the Tower of Pisa for dear life. It's just like the seriousness in their eyes. It's like, I got to hold this tower up. But you have to do it when you're out there. So when you go, make sure you hold up that tower. Okay, vibe check. So let's talk about the vibe of this sailing. So this won't be your typical quick getaway cruise. Again, heavy itinerary. So if you are an explorer, this is going to be perfect for you. So this sailing is going to attract people who love unique experiences. You want to go places and do things that are out of the norm. this is also going to be really great for people who are chasing that solar eclipse moment. And for sailors who want a little something more elevated and memorable. So the energy on board is probably going to feel very exciting, social, people gathering together for that once in a lifetime moment. So I can imagine that there's going to be, a big solar eclipse party happening, something similar. I mean, I haven't heard anything specific about it yet, but I will definitely keep you posted once I do hear about that. But if you've ever been on a Carnival cruise, you know what kind of fun vibes we're about to get into. And if you haven't been on a Carnival cruise yet, this solar eclipse sailing is definitely the one to get on. You're going to be on a Carnival ship that, one, is the first African itinerary, and then two, you're going to be experiencing the solar eclipse in the middle of the ocean. I mean, it's a win-win. Now, what I will say is this sailing is filling up fast because of this experience. So if for any reason you miss out on this sailing, you may be able to catch the 11-day eclipse sailing, Spain, Portugal, and France from London. And that's aboard the Carnival Miracle. Now, there are no stops to Africa on that sailing, but you will get a chance to see the solar eclipse if that is a priority of yours. And that would be a really good option. So, who is this cruise actually perfect for? Well, it's going to be great for couples, friend groups, family reunions, and even solo travelers who want to enjoy meeting people and being part of a shared experience. Now, if you're someone who loves to travel with a purpose and just not going somewhere, you want to actually experience something, then this is 100% your kind of trip. Now, if you want to check Africa off your bucket list, this is your trip. And if you want to enjoy culture, history, unique ports, if you're a curious traveler, this is definitely for you. So let's get you signed up. Now, for first-time cruisers, I will say this depends. It is a longer itinerary, so just be prepared for that. But what you do But if you know you'll be fine on a longer itinerary, then go for it. Maybe I'll make a video for first time cruisers that choose the longer itineraries and put it on the channel. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Just stay on the lookout for that. But I will say this trip will definitely be worth it. Another great thing to consider about this itinerary, specifically for first time cruisers, is that you're going to stop almost every day, especially towards the beginning of the sailing. So you do have the option to get off pretty frequently, which is very helpful to kind of break up the being on the ship for such a long period of time. So definitely something to consider. Now, before you get excited and want to go book this right now, let's talk about a few things I definitely want you to keep in mind because this is a very specific type of cruise. So the first thing to keep in mind is the length of time. Again, this is a 10-day sailing, so it's a bit longer of a commitment. Keep in mind, if you have to request PTO, you are going to require more time off of work for this sailing, especially if you have other vacations planned in the year, like me. So you want to plan your PTO accordingly. Some other things to consider is, are you staying the day before, which I highly recommend that you come in the day before. Are you staying a day or two afterwards? Which I did when I had my last Mediterranean cruise. I stayed 2 days in Rome, and this sailing actually ends in Rome. And I did a one day tour in Rome, which was a guided tour, and it was absolutely amazing. So I did do a 2-part reel just showing how I spent my time there. So definitely check that out for some inspo if you are doing this sailing. You also want to consider home responsibilities. Your children, are you bringing them with you or you're leaving them home? No tea, no shade if you leave them at home, but something to consider, right? Are you taking care of a family member? Do you have someone coming to your home to check on your mail or just to check on your home in general? Do you have pets? Keep in mind, because this is a longer itinerary and it stops in Europe frequently, it's going to consider a lot of you're going to have a lot of walking. So you'll need more stamina for travel because getting off in Europe pretty frequently does require a lot of walking. Um, Another thing to consider are flights. So how are you going to get there? If you're coming from the US, of course you'll have to fly internationally. So you'll want to plan ahead and plan early for when it comes to those flights, because when you're flying internationally to get on this ship, you want to book early. The earlier you book, not only does that mean better pricing for the cruise, but it's also going to mean better pricing for your flights. You'll also have options for financing as well. Like if you go through myself, I'll be able to assist you with that. But if you are not going to finance your flight, you want to make sure that you have time to either pay that off or get the best flights. Also, booking early prevents the potential long travel days or layovers, right? So, for example, I was looking up flights from New York to Barcelona just to get an idea of what the time would be. And that's an 8-hour flight alone. That was a one-way flight from New York to Barcelona. Now, I did see some other flights from Florida, which had 2 stops, and that was about 17 hours total for travel. That does include your layovers. So you want to plan for this. Again, why I say to plan to be there a day early is because airlines can be unpredictable. And the cruise is not going to wait for you to get there. Unfortunately, they're not. So think about leaving the day before and after your cruise just to have that part of your travel investment and peace of mind. Another thing to consider with flights is the time zone differences. This will also help you to properly plan for when you are arriving to that location. Again, it will also help with any of the home responsibilities that you have to manage while you're away. Number 3 to consider is passports. So you will need a valid passport if you are sailing on this cruise and you're flying internationally. Plus, for any international sailing, even if it's coming from the United States, I always recommend that you have a valid passport because anything can happen that could require you to fly to another country or go to another port. So you just want to be ready. And by valid passport, I mean it's not expired and it won't expire less than 6 months from your travel date. So this is very important. You may not be able to travel if your passport has less than 6 months left before it expires. And this is pretty much a standard across the board. So better to be safe than sorry. Another big thing to consider are your ports. You're going to require a bit more planning here. So again, this isn't one of those cruises that, it's a quick cruise. You can drive to the port. There's definitely going to be some more planning involved. It's not just a plug and play like some of the Caribbean cruises. It's not just a beach day, jet skis or ATVs and you're done. No. Excursions will matter more on these kinds of sailings, and these excursions are more about the culture. You want to experience the cultural difference. Try to get in as much as you can in just that one day that you're there. If you're not doing a paid or planned excursion. You'll want to research and do some work on your end or work with someone to help you plan for those days intentionally. I will tell you this, when I did my Mediterranean cruise, um, I planned everything off of YouTube and TikTok. So leverage these platforms because they are really amazing at, showing you what to expect when you get to these ports, things to do, where to go. So they're really, really great from people who have been there. And then they're showing you, of course, the experience that they did. Another thing to consider are the sea days. So, you want to consider the number of sea days versus port days. And on this sailing, there's only 3 sea days out of the 10, not including boarding day. So, you'll want to plan accordingly for the things that you want to see while you're on the ship, alongside with the days that you are out on port and you're doing a little bit of exploring. So take advantage of the days that you do have on the ship. Also, that's going to be good for you to reset and relax while you're there. Definitely do a spa day if you can. And remember, one of those days is the solar eclipse event. So that is planned to be sometime in the morning. From what we do know for right now, of course, this could probably change, but we'll know a more approximate time once we get a little closer to the date. Now, let's talk about the solar eclipse for a second because this is important. Now, weather can impact visibility. Nothing is guaranteed. So while this is an incredible opportunity, just keep in mind that it's still a natural event and visibility can depend on the weather conditions. This sailing is probably going to attract a very specific crowd. This will be my first time on Sunshine, so I'm not 100% sure on this, but being that it is primarily a Mediterranean cruise, which tends to attract a more mature crowd and possibly more seasoned cruises, this is what I'm expecting on the sailing. I'm also expecting to see eclipse chasers and travelers who are just truly looking for unique experiences. So the vibe may feel a little different than your typical party heavy cruise vibe that we're used to seeing on Carnival, especially on those Caribbean sailings. But I'm excited to see what the vibes and what the crowd is going to bring on the ship. And the last thing to consider is pricing and availability. So, unique itineraries are always going to be higher in demand. So, prices may increase over time. Right now, rates are starting at $14.54 per person for interior views with, well, interior won't have a view, huh? So it's 14.54 per person for an interior. And then if you want a balcony with a view, it's 21.59, which is great for a Mediterranean cruise, in my opinion. I mean, for my solo cabin on Norwegian, I paid way more than what I'm paying for two people in the cabin that I chose. And I did select to do ocean view for this cruise. So yeah, I think it's really, really great pricing right now. Now, I will say that Norwegian is more luxury focused, whereas this sailing is going to be more focused on the experience, right? But at the end of the day, we're going where we're going. We're going to visit Africa and the Mediterranean. So that's just the main focus there. So just get me to the destination. Again, really great pricing for the Mediterranean. Now consider you have to counter in those international flights and overnight hotel stays if you are staying before and after the cruise. With that said, this pricing may not last long. Early bird pricing is still at play with room credits and reduced deposits. Now, these are the types of sailings that tend to book up very quickly, especially once people realize how unique this sailing really is. You do not want to have any leftover rooms on this ship. You want to get the room that you want from the beginning, right? Now, let me be real with you. Cruises like this do not stay available for long. It was just announced earlier this year for sailings for next year, and this ship is already well then over halfway filled right now. So again, with this cruise, you're going to have the solar eclipse, you have a unique itinerary, and you already had some limited space on board. So that combination alone makes this one of those sailings that people are going to book early. It's going to sell out very quickly. So if you even think this would be something you consider, don't wait. Now, let me know in the comments if you're interested in this sailing. Would you cruise to Africa on Carnival? Did you already book the sailing and I'm going to see you next year? I would really love to know your thoughts. If this video was helpful at all or it got you pumped for the solar eclipse sailing, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can ship some more tea like this. Until next time, sailors, I'll see you soon.